All right, my name is Gary Bland. I help run the LUG here in West Virginia. We're online and virtual now, so we might be getting a lot more people than just West Virginia people. Tonight, we are going to have Travis Machete, a Red Hat instructor, present on SCAP and Ansible, utilizing Workbench, all that good stuff. So take it away, Travis.
All right, so welcome. This is part 2 of the Ansible lug that I did a couple months ago. So we're using the same slides, basically just the end of them. I will do a brief Ansible introduction because there are a couple new people on here, but when I was asked to put this together, it was how SCAP works with RHEL 8 and how the Ansible remediation playbooks will work to remediate anything found on the system. So I had a PDF guide. I put those items in the, what is this, Google Meet text message area. So you can look at the GitHub project as well as the PDF guide in there. And then again, thank you, Gary. Part 1 was placed on YouTube and was recorded. It was about an hour, a little over an hour for that meetup. So we'll get started. As Gary said, my name's Travis Machete. Keith also posted our main lug GitHub. So Keith has also done a lug with container registries, and that information is found in there. And then Gary's got the main Facebook page and a couple other things in there. So this presentation and all materials are coming out of the Ansible roles directory because it was meant to be done in a single night, but we had too many questions and too much hands-on to do that in an hour. So Ansible is our automation language, and we'll be leveraging various Ansible modules and playbooks to remediate anything found by OpenSCAP. So the OpenSCAP project creates the system security guide and the OVAL rules and the content that the systems are going to be checked from. Back in Aqueduct days and things like that, you had bash scripts, possibly Puppet manifests that would remediate your system, but now there's a larger focus around Ansible. So typically, you'll find most of the remediation items being done with an Ansible or fallback as a bash script. So that's why we're having a brief intro to Ansible here. Again, Ansible has 2 files that we needed. I've already put these on my workstation that I'll be using to show us. But the first is the config file. So the config files giving your basic Ansible setup, specifically where that inventory file is located. And then the inventory file is what you're going to need in order to execute your Ansible ad hoc commands or playbooks against hosts or Ansible nodes, managed nodes that are in the inventory. Because what we learned last time is our Ansible managed hosts or managed nodes are not only computers, but they can be network devices or basically any Internet of Things. If it's got an IP address, most likely there's a way you can finagle Ansible to manage that device. Specifically, what we're going to be looking at is SCAP Workbench, so we can tailor the SCAP content. So we'll be using OpenSCAP and OpenSCAP definitions in the format of our checklists, our XCCDF file. So it is possible to write and author your own SCAP rules. And we have I helped do a workshop with that a long time ago, but what's easier to do is to take your disastigs or take this open SCAP content that someone else has developed and you tailor it. So SCAP Workbench is a graphical utility. You'll see me use it, and if you've got a system you can follow along. I do have step-by-step instructions in that PDF guide, but what SCAP Workbench will allow us to do is tailor that content. So something like a password rule that says, okay, 8 characters, this many upper, this many lower, blah, blah, blah. And your organization is like, I don't want 8, I want 16. Or, maybe you work for the NSA and I don't want 16, I need 24, and we need to change that password every 10 days. These are rules that can be easily tailored with SCAP Workbench. So you give it the existing profile, you give it that tailoring file, and then it will scan and check your systems for compliance. And what's even better is you can take that results file and generate Ansible remediation playbooks to run against your system and take care of and fix those results. Now, do you have to do it that way? Absolutely not. Ansible is traditionally idempotent. That's most of the Ansible modules. So the plays within that playbook, you don't even have to run a SCAP scan against your system to get the baseline. You can generate a remediation playbook based on all your SCAP rules and tailoring rules and run that from the system before you've even done your first scan. So why do that first scan? So you can have that baseline. So you know what it's like with RHEL installed right out of the box, or some other operating system. I'm leaning toward RHEL because I work for Red Hat. So, but SCAP content is out there for multiple operating systems. Glenn said he's using Fedora. There's a Fedora SCAP content. There's SCAP content for Windows. And in Windows, obviously, you're doing the lockdowns with the Windows registry and Windows domain policies, computer and user-based policies. So we're going to look at SCAP Workbench and how to tailor a file, how to transfer these files around, and then finally how to remediate that system with Ansible. So that's the end of the presentation, the official presentation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the hands-on pieces and hands-on demonstration items with Ansible, with SCAP, and the SCAP content. So there's tons of projects. Thank you, Keith. Compliance as Code is one of those projects. Those of you that work in secure environments probably have access to the disastigs, and you're told which stig or which compliance policy you need to use and what you need to leverage. So what we're going to do is, if you've got a copy of the PDF, it should look like, and let me find it here. Well, hang on a second. Well, we may not be seeing the PDF on here. Well, we won't be seeing the PDF, so I apologize for not seeing the PDF. You'll have, oh, I can do it a different way. I'll have to check out my video feed later. But we want to be on the PDF, specifically down to page 23, where we're talking about the system security policy and compliance guide. So this is what the PDF looks like. These are the steps that I'll be walking us through. So I will be configuring items on workstation, specifically installing SCAP Workbench, as well as the Open SCAP content. So I've got it broken down into multiple steps, how we're installing the packages, and then how to launch the SCAP Workbench. So there's screenshots if you want to follow along in your own environment. So first thing I've got to do, I'm on workstation. I want to install software. So let's do this. Let's do a sudo-i. I'm doing a yum install SCAP Workbench. Now the cool thing is, because this is rel, RPM, and dependencies, it's going to install the OpenSCAP scanner and the SSG security guide. Because the SCAP security guide is a dependency with the SCAP Workbench. So in all, if you don't have any of the SCAP scanner or SCAP utilities on there, it will install those as part of the SCAP Workbench installation. So this just takes a few seconds to install. And then what we want to do after that's installed, we want to actually open up SCAP Workbench. So it's under Applications. Come on. System Tools and SCAP Workbench. And Garrett, can you confirm that you can read this okay? It looks a little small on the iPad.
I can read it all right.
Okay.
I'm on a laptop. I'm not even on my big monitor.
All right. So the content we want to load is rel 8. And we just do load content. And what this will do is load our different SCAP content items. So what we want to do is create custom content for rel 8. And we want to select a profile that we want to use here. So there's multiple profiles here. And this is an older rel 8 system. So I've only got 2 profiles. Rel 8.4, there's more profiles. And I believe Glenn was talking about the beginning, how often is this updated. Rel updates it with the packages, but this content comes from these multiple upstream packages in projects such as compliance as code. DISA will make a security policy, and it will be evaluated and generally approved. And typically, it takes to about a .3, a .4 release of a new operating system like RHEL before it gets out of DISA draft state to an approved state. But it can take longer or not as long. So here you pick a starting profile. Once you've got that starting profile, what you want to do is you want to customize that profile. So I'm going to customize this OSPP profile. And the first thing we see here is there are 187 checks. So there's 187 rules where it's going to look at these items and check our system against that. That's going to take a long time. So I'm going to make this easier. I'm going to start with this profile and I'm going to say customize it. And what am I going to customize it to? I'm going to leave it like this with that name. And so I can remember this name and have it for later. I'm going to copy that off and I'm going to put in a notepad. That way I can do copy and paste easily. And I don't have any notepads there. Let's see about accessories. Okay, I do at least have text editor there. So I'll throw that into text editor. All right, so there's the name of my profile. So it's creating this new profile when I click on OK. And the first thing I'm going to do is tell it to deselect all. So what that's going to do is take all 187 rules and wipe them out. And now that those rules are wiped out, I can go select what I want. So I was talking about password lengths. So a lot of times, you know, Pam's responsible for that, and you would set that up in your login definitions file. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look for password length here. So let's look for password length. So we're down here to password. Whoops, scrolled past that a little too fast. So set password expiration parameters. What do we want to do? Password length. What do we want it to be? We want it to be 18 characters. Whoops. Number lock must not be on 18. So there we got 18 characters for the minimum password length. And we can set password aging, so we can set maximum password age. Come on. So maximum password age, I said every 10 days. You know, I'm being a mean person. So every 10 days, we've got to change our password. So we're asking for it to be there under a keyboard. Minimum password age. Well, you've got to maintain that same password for at least 5 days. So I've set maximum password age of 10 days, minimum password age of 5 days, and minimum password length of 18 days. And now let me also set the minimum password length and login definitions. So that's going to be 18. So I've got those items checked. So now the next thing I want to do is look for some of my PAM stuff with my password quality. So I go up here to search, and I'm searching because scrolling doesn't do well on video. So I'm searching for password quality, and that's taken me to the section here for the password quality, and this is our PAM password quality requirements. And what we want to do here with PAM is set our PAM password quality requirements here. And now we can change the minimum length to 18, so PAM enforces it. So again, login definitions is one area where it checks. PAM is another, because the PAM module is utilized for other applications and in other programs, not just the login suite or the login functionality. And then here, you can set O credit for other characters, D credit, L credit. So that's the upper, lower digits, minimum classes. So you've got to have 3. So a combination of any of those 3. So, at this point, I've got my rules. I've got my tailored rules. The only thing I want my systems to be checked for. So now we've got these customized rules, and what you should be able to see here is we have 12 rules, just 12. Sorry, yeah, 12. And if my pen works, I can circle that. But my pen is not working. At all. So that's another thing I've got to fix. So we have the 12 rules down here. So now we want to save this customization. So we want to do save customization only. So this will save our tailored file. So what do we want to call it? I'm good with this name. I don't like to type a lot, so I'm just taking the default names here. So I'm taking that default name and I'm just saving it. So it's saving locally to my workstation. Whoops, I saved it in the wrong directory. Not to fear. So there's my tailoring profile, and if we want to look at it, here's the XML with the rules selected and what I've got tailored in there, and there's the selections and where it goes to the various rules. And again, this overlays the actual data stream file, the actual rules that are provided with that SSG guide, that system security guide or SCAP security guide. So I've saved this tailoring file. So now it's ready to be used somewhere. So I'm going to put this tailoring file to server A. And server A is the one I'm going to be scanning. Now this tailoring file is something you can check into GitHub. It's something that can be placed on Red Hat Satellite Server to do your automated SCAP scans, or you can use SCAP Workbench to scan these systems remotely. In this example, in this workshop, we are actually distributing this tailoring file to the systems, and we're scanning directly from those systems. So we're showing you how to put the stuff together. So what I want to do is SSH root at server A. Now that I'm at server A, I'm going to install the SCAP security guide. So when I install the SCAP security guide, this is going to install not only the SCAP security guide, but the Open SCAP scanner and SCAP utilities. But it does not install the graphical SCAP Workbench utility. So you can see it got the Open SCAP and the Open SCAP scanner, as well as the security guide components. So I'm going to tell it yes, and this install is also fairly quick. Now, if you've never used the SCAP security guide before, never used Open SCAP before, I encourage you to look at the man page. for the SCAP security guide and search for capital exam to the example section. And this gives you a way to show you the OVAL results, how to scan and evaluate, and how to select a profile. This gives you the bare minimum of how to do it. We're going to be doing a lot of other pieces within this. So you may also want to look at things like the man OSCAP. We man OSCAP and search for exam to the example section. This is a little bit better because it's giving us some evaluation pieces, and it's broken down a little bit more readable here because now we've got the profile. So there's that USGCB, so that's the government baseline SCAP profile. How to generate the HTML report, how to generate that results XML file, and how to look at these items. So what we want to do now is essentially run the OpenSCAP scan. So let me clean the screen up. So now let me do this and say OSCAP. And what do I want to do? I want to take that XCCDF file and do an evaluation. And for readability's sake, the next thing I want to do is the profile. And my profile was called, oh crap, I copied that into a place where I can't use it. I think this is the right profile name. I think that's right. So the next thing we need is the tailoring file. And that tailoring file, remember, I copied over here. I'll show you all this. I'm copying it from that notepad. So the tailoring file, I copy it. And then I want to create a results file. And I'll call that custom scan results. Then the last thing, it's where is this content coming from? Coming from my data stream. So it's user, share, XML, SSG, whoops, SCAP, SSG, SSG, rel 8, DS, XML. So I forgot there were so many pieces of content, so that blew up my example with the pretty typing. But we hit enter here. And what this is going to do, we see that it's scanned, and I've got a whole bunch of failures, which I knew. No person in their right mind would pick the security that I did. So I'm going to throw this one in for you, Chad, because I think it might have been you after Keith left with the tailoring file. And, you know, I made it easy because I did this step by step as I went through. But what happens if you don't know, once you've got a tailoring file, what that original profile was? Well, there's a way to figure that out from that tailoring file. So what you can do is do a grep profile ID, and you grep it out of that SSG tailoring file, and look, right there it is. So you can see what definition it was even based on, because it's extending that original OSPP custom profile in this case. All right, so we've got XML results. XML results are ugly. I like the web-based form. So what can I do to get it web-based? I can do an OSCAP XCC DF, generate report. So this is what I want to do. So on the next line, I'm going to tell it what I want it to do. So I'm taking my custom scan results and I'm going to do custom scan report.html. So what this is going to do is take that custom scan results XML file and convert that into a nice, pretty HTML report. So now let me copy this to student at workstation. Because that is where I've got my graphical piece to look at things. Because looking at raw HTML to me is almost as bad as looking at XML. And now we wait for Firefox to come up. All right. Firefox, it appears to be awake. Almost. All right. And now let's look at the file I copied over. Maybe. Maybe not. I may have killed it. All right. I may do it another way. Since it won't let me in Firefox. On that system, I will do it on this other system. I've got more than, I'm using nested virtualization, so that's why some things are not going as great as others. So there's my custom scan report. Let's see if it opens now. And there we go. So you can see here, it's got my open SCAP evaluation reporting. You can see the compliance and scoring, and you can see all the fail. Whoops, no, you can't. Sorry, hang on. You can see, let me go back to the top here. You can see the SCAP evaluation report, the compliance scoring, and the rules, and you can see the failures. So that was half of it. So what do we want to do next? Well, obviously we want this thing to pass. So we want to generate a a fix. We want to take this bad report and we want to create an Ansible playbook that will remediate the results. So back to server A. So we want to do OSCAP XCCDF generate X. We want to take it from that same profile that we just did. We want to take it from that same tailoring file that we just did. And then here we want to tell it to fix it by an Ansible playbook. And here's the part that's really cool and really interesting. So fix the result ID with the double quotations. You don't see that often in the documentation. Typically, when you generate the Ansible fix based on these files and based on these results, it will do it based on everything. By doing it this way, it's going to take only the failures for the fix. But here we go. We've got this. So what do we want to generate the fix from? Well, we want to do it from those custom scan results. And we want to create a playbook called custom scan fix.yaml. And now I've got my custom scan fix.yaml file there. So let's SCP that to student at workstation. And I'm student at workstation, and I can vim my custom scan fix. And this is what our Ansible remediation playbook looks like. So it's got a ton of comments, but more importantly, what it does, and this is where you really need to watch, is where it's got hosts all. So this is going to take it against all hosts in your inventory. So when it generates the playbook, you want to be sure you are running this playbook on only the hosts that need it. So a good recommendation is modify that inventory file, and within that inventory file, only put in there the hosts you want this playbook to go on. That way, if some other person comes along behind you and runs this remediation playbook, it doesn't do all hosts in your environment. It only gets all hosts in your inventory file. So you can see the variables where we did our customizations. That's my 18 character length and my digits and things like that. But the other important thing here is the tags. So Gary had asked a while back about some of these remediation playbooks and things like that. So you can run a remediation playbook if you're not doing scans against the system, but you generate it against all SCAP content. You can run it against a specific NIST or CGIS or CCE code based on the tags, or high severity, critical severity, things like that. So here's the playbook and what it would do. And basically, we all know that for PAM and modifying these files, it's typically going to look at things like line-in file modules or creation of actual config files or replacing items. So, you know, in this case, replace. So this is our playbook, and I need to copy that into GitHub log and roles and SCAP, because that's where I've got the stuff set up. And once again, I got talking and didn't copy the actual file. So it's called custom scan fix. So there it's going to copy into that SCAP directory. And you can see here that I've got an Ansible config file and an inventory file. And just to make sure my inventory file's good and that I can reach out to the systems, I'm just going to do an Ansible ad hoc command, Ansible ping all, and see if this works. And I've got my config file set up to already utilize elevated permission. So, you know, I've got a failure here. So it says shared connection. Ooh, sudo passwords required. So that means my Ansible user might be in the sudoers file, but it's not passwordless sudo. So let me try this with a -K. Try it now, and it should, in theory, prompt me for that sudo password. And now it should come back green because I'm pretty sure I've got my user in the sudoers file. And poor old Firefox. And my workstation VM just does not like me. Let me see if I can kill some of the stuff on that workstation machine. Well, come on, workstation. Well, I'm going to reset the workstation VM, I guess. Once again, I apologize here. Too much nested virtualization going on here.
Did you see Keith's question in the chat?
No, I did not. What's the not string in bars mean? Yeah, I think you're right, Gary, or whoever posted that, or Glenn. There are escaping out of there because it wants that to not be a string. It's taking that as a -1, I believe. But let's see here.
It's like an option, like a object or type.
Yeah, and you get some things in YAML syntax and YAML linting for some of the escaping pieces. All right, so I rebooted Workstation, I think. Okay, yes, I did. All right, so what I was doing was an Ansible -m ping all -k. Student, I was responding a little bit faster, hopefully. Yep, and now we're good. Now we're green. And so now I know that my Ansible playbook that's going to be run, I can run Ansible playbook. What's the name of it? Custom scan fix. And I've just got to put a -K in there. It's going to ask me for the become password. And it changed everything and set everything up okay for me. So now what we want to do is we want to basically rescan that system. And I'm going to have to build that command again. So copy and paste it from my other buffer. So SCAP eval. Give it my profile again.
Don't you need to do this on server A?
Oh, thank you. That's why it's not in my buffer. I've had a long day today. Yes, you're awesome, whoever said that. So now what I want to do is change this results to custom scan results 2, or I'll call it fixed. And I also am going to do the step that I could have done before. I built the results XML file and reports separately. This time I'm doing it all in one. So custom scan report fix.html. And then again, the data stream file. Because I went from history, where I had all those carriage return things so I could have the nice clean input. I've got one big giant long command here. And you see I'm getting greens and passes. And you'll see it generated a fixed report HTML and a custom scan results fixed XML. So now I'm going to copy that custom scan report fixed to the system that has a Firefox on it, and I call it a custom scan report fixed. So I think I can just type in fixed there. If I did it right, here's my report, new SCAP report, and look there. I am at 100% compliant. Whoops. Sorry, you can't see that. I'm at 100% compliance. So here's my new report. I changed all the rules, and I can show all the green results here with the results details. It checked it, it evaluated, and everything's good. So I apologize for a few hiccups along the way. I need to get apparently my graphics tablet working again, and my other video source working. But that was SCAP Workbench with the tailoring file, scanning the system, creating an Ansible playbook to remediate what was found on the scan, leveraging that playbook to remediate the system, and then rescanning and verifying the results. And the cool thing is, because of how Ansible works and it's idempotent, you could have a system out there that constantly will run your Ansible remediation playbook. And if someone has changed that value, getting your system out of compliance, that playbook will put that system right back in compliance. So are there any questions?
What's the difference between this and a STIG?
So the STIG is the actual, well, and this is my view of it, and I'm not the biggest security person, but a STIG is the actual rules on what you've got to do. SCAP and SCAP Workbench and the Open SCAP project is a technological tool that allows you to implement those rules. So it's a way to scan the system based on your STIG and what the STIG rules say, and a way to manage content and automatically fix it. Anybody else from Red Hat on here have a better comparison?
Yeah, I would say that the STIG is the guide, not a regulation, not a requirement. It says, hey, here are the things we determined that we think you should do. But recognizing that everybody's going to have some one-off use cases or things that are unique, like two-factor authentication is a non-sequitur if you're not running a graphical user interface or the graphical user interface pieces. If you're obviously, not many systems are going to have stuff like utilities like Finger and Message of the Day or anything like that installed. Those old Unix utilities installed, even though it is there. And then the Open SCAP is it's one of the tools you can use to help turn that STIG into code you can use to scan with a tool like Red Hat Satellite or with the operating system itself, or to, if you use the Open SCAP Workbench, create the YAML files you need to use Ansible to enforce that configuration.
Yeah. So I think there was a SPAyward tool out there too that could scan based on content. But my view of it is SCAP and Open SCAP is a tool and utility with content that can automatically scan the system based on STIG rules. But someone's got to create that content.
So I've got a question for you. Is there, DISA releases a new version of a STIG for one of the RHEL operating systems. So is there a way to take the content they provide in that zip file and import it into SCAP Workbench?
Have they released it as SCAP content?
Well, that's just it. They release it as content that works with their little Java tool. But I have never found one that says, hey, here's the Open SCAP Workbench compatible import.
Yeah.
They have some else stuff, but it's kind of their own.
Yeah, so if they release it according to Open SCAP standards, then yes, you can import that into SCAP Workbench. And a lot of places do that in SCAP standards. So the SCAP standard is like universal. Kind of like, what was that? RTF. Microsoft Word documents could be saved as RTF and used in LibreOffice and everything else like that, and imported. But if they're doing it and releasing that content, that scanned content for their proprietary tool, then no, you cannot automatically import it into your SCAP Workbench. I would say probably the best or probably one of the better ways of getting the most up-to-date items is with that compliance as code project that Keith shared. It's a good one because that continually is meant to update the SCAP security guide rules. So I'm using a very, very old version of the SCAP security guide because you saw with SCAP Workbench there were only 2 profiles. But with RHEL 8 or 8.4, there's a newer version. And I don't know what this system is. Let me just quickly look here. Cat FC Red Hat release. I might be able to install SCAP Workbench here, and if it's available, and see if there's more updated content. So Red Hat does release updated versions of the SCAP security guide. So, you know, version 1. I lost the version of it. Come on. Well, I'll just wait for it to install and then I'll grab it. All right. So SCAP security guide 01.50-14 and the SCAP security guide here is 01.42-11. So you can see that RHEL 8.3 has a newer version, and we will take a look at RHEL 8.3 and see how many additional profiles are loaded. But again, someone is doing that work to get those profiles created for you. So, you know, RHEL 8 here. But Glenn, to answer your question, if you get the content in SCAP form, do you see where it says other SCAP content?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can do it.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I was just been at a loss to find one that is as recent as what DISA pumps out. Usually there's this delay between when DISA does its release and then it's showing up in something like compliances code to import into the Workbench tool.
Correct. There is going to be a delay. And even at RHEL 8.3, which is where this SCAP security package came from, look at how many more things we've got. And we finally have a DISA-STIG draft for RHEL 8 that has 220 rules.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if there is a nicer way to get them to put that out and participate in this project. We used to have a few consultants working at DISA that were also active in the SCAP project, but I don't know if they're still working for Red Hat or not.
I don't know. I remember a few years ago, DISA changed their contract models, and a lot of folks who were at DISA left. So,
yeah. Did that answer your question, though?
It does. It does. I could hunt through the compliances code and find a a file to get more recent content than what comes with, say, with the Fedora release of SCAP Workbench.
Well, and the thing you want to look at is the SSG project too. Because that will be even more updated than what comes with Fedora. So the actual SCAP Security Guide project. And downloading content directly from there. So let me post that in chat here. And let me see about if I can pull that up easily.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that as well. I think I've kind of been down this road already because just released their 1.0 Rel 8 guide a couple months ago. I was like, great, when can I pull it into Workbench?
So here's content that was released 28 days ago.
Okay.
And it's even got the STIG GUI profile in there.
Yeah. That's cool.
So here's all the new profiles. Wow, they've got one for Rel 9 out.
Rel. I assume by that they mean some version of Fedora?
I have no idea.
Fascinating.
But SLE, I'm guessing, is SUSE Enterprise Linux.
Mm-hmm.
OL, I am guessing, is Oracle's version of Red Hat. They've got OCP here forward, so OpenShift 4 and CoreOS for OpenShift 4. So those were profiles modified in this release.
What do you mean by GUI?
Add the Rel 9 product. So it's a placeholder.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, don't think we've actually had any official announcements on any of that.
I didn't think so
A
either.
little early in the development cycle.
But you saw where the OpenSCAP.org went directly to GitHub with the compliance as code.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only most up-to-date content that I can tell you where to get it. If someone at DISA is nice and maintains that content and puts it out in SCAP format when they release it for that tool, that would be ideal.
Perhaps we could all write our representatives. Say, hey, can you have this in, slide it into a bill?
So, any other questions? Gary, are you out there and working?
I'm here. I only dropped once. I had to reconnect, so that's improvement. Still
Yeah.
waiting on Starlink.
I was going to say, you got your little Elon Musk internet yet?
Not yet. Still waiting.
So what's the word on Starlink in your part of West Virginia?
Some people like 30 minutes north of me have it that I know. So hopefully it'll. I'm pretty sure it's some people further south do too, but I think a lot of it now is just them building the factory to start building the modems and the dishes themselves instead of having them built overseas. Yeah,
I've heard there's some reporter who out west. I think she's in Oregon or Washington State, but she has been a follower of this, and she posted a report a few days ago where with the heat wave, some of these dishes are overheating.
Yeah, I saw that. They get over 129 degrees. They shut down.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think they're already working on pushing out an update for that.
Yeah. So you weren't able to get on the beta program.
I know. I signed up for that too.
All right. Well, eventually, I mean, they've got their first constellation completed, right?
Yep. Yep. Now they're just working on density.
Yeah.
Hopefully by this fall at the latest.
Mhm.
It said summer to fall. So
No.
could be any day.
Fingers crossed. It will be a glorious day.
Yep.
I expect many postings from you in the home lab chat room.
Yeah.
Look at my speed.
It'll be nice going from 6 meg to 100. I'd be happy with 20 and reliable.
Oh yeah.
Are we still recording, Gary?
We are. I can stop recording. Didn't know if there's any more questions.
Oh, yeah. Are there any more questions related to the presentation?